Carrie.
Hi.
Hi. Hello, hello. Good morning. Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Sunday.
Happy
Um,
Sunday.
uh, Carole, we've got Berta, and we've got Carrie now, so we're gonna get started. Um, and Carole is on speakerphone, so you guys let me know when I pass it to Carole for introductions if you can hear her. Want to make sure that that works. But okay, let's get started. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Smitha Milich, she, hers. I'm with the Alliance for Quality Education. And, we're here today. It's August. It's in the middle of August, and it's Black August. And Black August commemorates the historical fight in America for Black liberation. It has throughout the years, it has evolved into a month-long awareness campaign and celebration dedicated to Black freedom fighters, revolutionaries, radicals, and political prisoners, both living and deceased. Now, AQE, the Alliance for Quality Education, we are determined to reach educational justice for all children, regardless of zip code, regardless of skin color. And that's because our state has historically underfunded schools within communities of color, and for decades and decades has shortchanged Black and Brown children in our state for many years. So today we're going to zoom in on the struggle faced by students, families, and community members of the East Ramapo School District, public schools in that district. In East Ramapo, students in public schools continue to suffer the negligence and harm of persistent underfunding. And this neglect has disproportionately impacted 96% of Black and Brown children, over half of whom speak English language, they're English language learners, and they face significant economic disadvantage, homelessness, and disabilities. 96%. So today we're going to discuss the situation in East Ramapo with the grassroots leaders that you see on this call working to improve funding for public education in East Ramapo. Now I'm going to pass it. I'm going to pass it to you all to give brief introductions and talk about your connection to the East Ramapo Public School District. And I'm going to say just keep it brief because we're going to get to the questions that are going to dig deeper. So I'll start with you, Carole. Go for it.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kat. Board member, Ramapo Board. Okay, I'm a member of the NAACP, and I've also been rather active with the with NICLU. That's it.
Thanks, Carole. I'll pass you to Berta.
Can you?
Hi, everyone.
Yes, we heard you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Berta. I'm part of the organization, the Best Friends of the Immigrants. I'm the organizer and activist in Rockland County, and also I'm a mother of two kids being affected of the school, the issues in the schools in East Ramapo. And I'm working right now with different organizations, and I'm involved more right now because even I don't have kids, but I know I'm going to have a grandkids and it's going to be affected. So, and thank you for Night Group because they make us like work together. Thank you.
Thanks, Berta. Go for it, Keyry.
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Keyry Broncano, and I am an alum from the East Ramapo School District. I graduated back in the year 2018, and I'm currently a community activist, self-proclaimed, and I work a lot with different organizations, primarily the Best Footprints by Immigrants. I work alongside Berta a lot, and I'm also very involved with collaborating with the NYCLU and just the community at large, fortunately.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so I just want to just mention how we're going to structure the Instagram live. So we just have questions. We're gonna style it as a question and answer discussion. So I'll ask some questions to all of you folks, and I would ask, for those of you who are watching the live. If y'all have questions, if you guys have comments, feel free to put in the chat and we'll get to it if we can get to it. We want to keep it as engaging as possible. So that said, we're just gonna go straight into the sort of historical context here. We'll start with that. And I'm gonna start with you, Carole. Carole, can you describe the key challenges facing East Ramapo's public schools since the 2009 school board takeover?
Okay, I really feel that the fact that we have had, and because of the defeated school budget, there's a lack of money for teachers' salaries to be competitive with other districts. Therefore, we have a problem each and every year. We have losing so many teachers. And I can offer them. The fact also, because of the fact we have these defeated budgets, it creates a crisis as far as trying to hire teachers. Yes, people will say that there's a crisis throughout the nation as far as hiring teachers is concerned. Yes, but if the salaries were competitive, we would be able to. Thank you.
Thank you, Carole. I'll pass it to you, Berta.
Yeah, I don't hear correctly. Can you repeat?
Yeah, no,
The
definitely. And just
question?
let me know. Same question, yeah. Just so
Yes.
the key challenges facing the district since the takeover.
Yeah. I think the key challenges the board members, they make bad decisions because right now we facing the buildings that are better conditions. They don't even have central air from the schools. They don't even have heater during the winter. The water, a lot of parents, they have to spend money for buying water to give the kids because there's not enough water in the schools. It's a lot of issues is going on, and I talked to many parents, and they just want to move because they think it's not going to be better. It just keep going worse. And we know the board members, they made bad decisions when they started there. They're just making the monies keep going to the private schools. So it's less and less money for our kids.
Thank you, Berta. And we're talking about the takeover. Maybe for anyone who just doesn't have context of what we're talking about with like a school board that doesn't represent necessarily the average population of the school district. Keyry, do you want to speak to that? Sort of what happened?
Yeah. So the takeover did happen in 2009, and it is the result of block voting, where it's pretty much as you say, where our school board doesn't necessarily represent the actual population. And the takeover, I almost consider it to be a hijacking because it is made up of a white majority, and it doesn't accurately represent the students of public schools. And the school board is supposed to take into consideration the needs of both public school and private school students. But this white majority school board has special interests in the private schools, and that therefore is not representative of the needs of everyone. And I think I know you're asking for the key challenges, but I think kind of the biggest proof of this was in 2009 to 2010, where both Berta and I were actually affected by the same dilemma, where our white private school board members decided to claim that enrollment in public schools was projected to decline. So they then used that projection to warrant the sell-off of two public schools. And that was a huge issue that required for Berta to actually move away because the school that her son was supposed to attend got sold. And the school I was supposed to attend was that same school, and I ended up having to take the public transit farther away, the transportation provided by the school. And the board members are definitely at fault for this, because not only were they wrong about the declining enrollment actually went up, and they sold off one of the schools at, it was valued at $6 million. And once they said we're looking to sell the school, they got it reappraised by another person who again has an interest in private schools. That person reappraised one of the buildings from $6 million to $3 million, half of what it was worth. And they took that $3 million appraisal. That same person who appraised the school at $3 million later pleaded guilty to fraud, and he was picked by that white majority school board. So it just goes to show that they don't do their due diligence in keeping the quality of public education where it needs to be.
Wow. Appraisal, it sounds like a business almost, as if they're running a business, right? Not a school district for public school students. You touched on some interesting points that really seem familiar. I'm down in New York City. I went to public schools my whole life here in the city, and it's a pattern that we seem to see where we get disinvestment into public schools that serve majority Black and brown children, and they sort of disinvest in the school, and then people may leave. Now, I know that in your district there isn't necessarily an enrollment decline. In New York City, we're not really facing much of an enrollment decline in super recent years, but generally, we do have a birth decline rate in the country, and there are enrollment declines happening, sure, because of that. And also, New York is extremely expensive to live in, and working people are leaving this state because our elected officials can't recognize that everything is so expensive to live here. So there's those things. But then there's also the systemic issue of underfunding our school districts, and then particularly white folks like to say, oh, look, people are leaving. Maybe it's because the schools aren't funded. Maybe that's a bigger issue. So does anyone want to speak to sort of just like the funding situation reflecting maybe like a broader issue of racial inequities generally happening?
Yeah.
Go for it, Carole.
I would say so. I hate to say that a lot of the problem is due to racism, because, that's something everyone will claim, racism. Okay, but if you attend a board meeting, okay, you can see the board members, the lack of respect that is shown to the public school parents. And, I really feel that this is an issue that we really need to address. The fact that if a public school parent will get up to the microphone to talk, you will see board members turning their back toward the parent. And you will also see and things like that, which is definitely not listening to what the parent is trying to say. And it is really disturbing because of the fact that there's definitely a lack of respect. And if you don't respect the parents that serving the children, there's going to be a problem. And the fact of the other thing that I think that attributes to this lack of respect, because of the fact that these parents are immigrants. And this is awful. They feel that the immigrants can't vote. This is a problem, okay? No, they can't vote. But yes, they are paying taxes. And the fact that they are paying taxes to the school, at least the board members are able to sit there and listen to what these parents are trying to say. because they're there. They want their children to receive the best education possible. So I hope that gives you some sort of insight.
Thank you, Carole. Berta, Keyry, you both are shaking your heads as well in agreement.
Yes.
What has your experience been with just attending these board meetings?
Yes, I have many experience, and I see they call the police to intimidate the parents to don't go next time, because we talked and Katie's she's always with us too, and the parents say, I'm immigrant, I don't want be, and also they work for them, they rent for them, so they control everything. So by the end they just like they don't know nothing they can do because they are afraid. So some of the parents, they telling me if the police is going to be there today, because if it's there, I'm not going to go, because they are afraid to see the police officers. So they call the police, the board member call the police to protect them, not protect the parents. That's what I feel, because they think if we see the police officers, we don't gonna speak, so they keep us quiet. So I'm from North Rockland right now, but I see the difference. It's like night and as a day and night. It's totally different. And I was telling the parents, you have to talk, you have to speak for your kids, because you came here, you cross the border, you came here for better life, and right they give up on the high schools because they don't have a translation. They don't even know English. So they just say, oh, I prefer go in a corner and waiting for a job. So it's a lot of stuff is going on, but the more I see is the police officer there, and they intimidate the parents.
Thank you, Berta. Keyry, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's too much more to add. Carole and Berta really, really got to the meat of it. I mean, just to give you some of the boring statistics, I guess, right? I mean, just to kind of further prove the racial disparity, our public schools are made up of 96% students of color, 96%. Meanwhile, the private schools in the same district, 99% of their students are white. So a huge racial disparity, and you can see a huge difference in treatment between the private and public schools. It's like Berta said, it's night and day. And Carole really hit the nail on the head when she mentioned about the disrespect by our school board. And it ties in together with what Berta said as well, because of our immigrant population, they are very scared of the police, but not just the police, their own school board, because they're afraid if they speak out that they'll face retaliation, because many of their employers, their landlords, their neighbors are from the white private school community. Retaliation is something that has happened before, and it instills that sense of fear in our public school community. And, you know, talking about the building conditions, I mean, when I was in school, it was discovered that there was lead in our water systems. It's been years since that has been discovered, and there is yet to be any change. They promise change every year. And I always think back to how much this resembles the crisis in Flint, Michigan, and the clear racial disparities there as well. It kind of just comes back to the fact that we're living in a modern day Jim Crow era, and there's no reason why we should have poison in this water in the public schools. I mean, it's kind of just A to Z, point blank, no gray area, just right and wrong. But that's my take on it.
Thank you for sharing that. And again, just tying it back to this chronic disinvestment in school districts that predominantly serve Black and Brown children, and resulting in dire conditions, like Keyry mentioned, lead in drinking waters for at least 7 years?
I think it's been
yeah, at least. Carole, you mentioned more than that. And Carole, you mentioned the ongoing teacher and staffing shortages, unmet student needs generally. I mean, they wonder why parents might want to leave that potentially. All right, well, can you guys I'm going to start with you, Carole. Can you share some insights and or stories of the advocacy work that's been done so far with your own organization, with NICLU, or with whoever.
Okay. Two things that I wanted to, well, I want to say something in regards to the condition of the buildings, and then I'll go into that. There was $90 million that the district used from COVID funding to work on the buildings, because for so long, due to the lack of maintenance with failed budgets, there hasn't been money available to fix the buildings. So the school district took $90 million of the COVID fund and applied that to fixing the buildings. But yet, due to the years of neglect, they need $100 million more to bring the buildings up to par. So that that should let you know how the defeated budgets have impacted the schools. The other thing that you were asking me about the organization that I'm involved with, the NAACP, and thank goodness for NICLU, because the two organizations have been really attempting to shine light on the conditions of East Ramapo. And I just want to say that we are very lucky that we have those two organizations, along with the other organizations, the Latino organizations that have been active, because for far too long, we have been neglected. Our schools have been neglected. So I hope that answers some part of the question that you were asking.
Yes, it does, Carole. Thank you. Berta, Keyry, any insights around the advocacy being done so far you'd like to share?
Yes, I just want to mention thank you for NICLU, because I hear the issues just keep coming, because from years, many years, because I, like Katie mentioned, I moved because they closed one of the school of my kids. But that time I was like, if I move, it's going to be disappear the problem. I learned the problems keep growing. So when NICLU involved, that was like 2 years ago, and they contact us and they explained what is going on, and we started involved. Even we have little problems too, because some of the East Ramapo members, they question why you here, but we invite everyone. We invite even if you know from Rockland County, you welcome, because we have a meeting in Salvation Army in February, and it was like more than 500 people, and some of the organizations, they came from Westchester. So NICLU is trying to be everybody together, and even if you know part of the East Ramapo, but you can help find the solution. So it's many organizations. I don't have the list, but I want to say thank you to them, because they even know from here, they're involved, because they know we need their help.
Thank you, Berta.
You're welcome.
Keyry, are there any specifics around the advocacy work and strategies you want to mention?
Yeah, I mean, Berta has said a lot, and a lot of it is also thanks to her leadership, because she has gained the trust of so many immigrants in the community. And it's very important that immigrants in particular have someone that they feel they can be safeguarded by. And Berta is that person for many of them. So I'm always grateful to her and her work. But to Carole's credit as well, I have yet to see a board meeting where she is not sitting down in the front row. Carole is there in the front lines, and she has been for years. And to her leadership and dedication to this, I will forever be grateful, because her advocacy has impacted not only myself, but my family as well. But to kind of dive deeper into the other projects, one of my favorite by far was when we collected a symbolic vote. So because of the large immigrant population that we have a large immigrant population, and many of them do not have the right to vote for these school budgets as much as they would like to, right? So what NYCLU and Las Mejores Huellas did, by that I mean the best footprints, they invited me even. I was just a stranger at the time, and this was my first project with them. But we collected a symbolic vote. And what was on it was a sample ballot card, which basically said, would you agree to this tax levy on an improved budget? And if yes or no, just to check a box, very similar to the real ballot. And then in the bottom, we provided options for things that that they would want to see improve in the public school community, whether it was better conditions, better contracts for teachers, so have you. Our goal was to collect 700 of these votes, right? This is a local election, so that's kind of the benchmark to kind of win. So our goal was 700 votes. After spending a few weeks, I think it was, of going out in the community, finding these immigrants that aren't able to vote, who have a say in, who hypothetically would have a say in the vote if they had the right to vote. We managed to collect 2,000, I think 2,200 was the exact number of votes. Every single one of them were for a yes vote. That year, we lost the budget vote by I think 45 votes. Just to show you, if these public school parents and community members had the right to vote, we would have won by a landslide. But because they don't have the right to vote, our white majority school board takes advantage of this and doesn't allow us to have that representation. We also did that lobby day in Albany, where after we, a smaller group of community leaders, got together to meet with different legislators, I know Berta and I included, we took the time out of our days to meet with senators, assemblymen, so on and so forth. And we did a whole lobby day in Albany. Carole was there too. I wish she mentioned that. Carole was a pioneer at lobby day too. And we just got everyone's voices heard. The community at large came in, other organizations came in, everyone rallied together. And it was a beautiful day in Albany. And as a result of that, we actually got Assemblyman Ken Zabrowski to hear us out, and he drafted a bill. It was A10407. And that bill meets the demands of a lot of what we believe needs to be changed in our district. It was just a collective effort, and I give gratitude to everyone involved.
Does anyone want to give like a quick summary, like nutshell of what the bill does?
I was waiting for someone else to volunteer, but
Okay.
Go on, you do it.
Okay, Carole, if you trust me that much, but correct me if I miss anything, both of you.
Yeah.
But what it is basically the big meat of it, right? At a top line perspective, is Zabrowski is proposing that we get a financial board put in place to kind of monitor the financial decisions made by the current school board or the elected school board, so have you.
Right.
And they are basically going to be there to what I call babysit our school board, since they can't really make responsible financial decisions on their own. Unfortunately, that's the card we're dealt with. And that's a big thing of what we want. Aside from funding, our school board as it is now cannot make financial decisions that are smart. The financial mismanagement is on a rampage with our current school board. And it is because of the white majority not taking in the interests of the public schools. And that is basically the big thing about it and the main reason why we support it.
Thanks, Keyry. Thanks for that snapshot. Okay, yeah. I believe we support that bill as well. So you guys have mentioned failed school budgets. I'm curious, can you describe the funding disparities between the public schools versus the private schools in East Ramapo and how that impacts families and students? What's the main difference?
You say me? I froze a little. I'm sorry. Yeah. The difference is yes. The question is how is it different? Wow, I'm just gonna say, I went through private schools and it's the building's so beautiful. It's central air. When you enter, you can see the glasses bulletproof, and outside is beautiful, the garden. And when you go into our schools for our kids, it's the grass is long. The windows is falling apart. They don't even have central air. They don't even have teachers. Let's start there, because I have family members, they have kids right now, and they say, my kids, they send it to the library because there's not enough teachers. So they just spend the day in a library room because they don't even have teachers. The private schools, they have everything, a lot of school buses. They take the kids from here in East Ramapo, Rockland County, to Brooklyn, Queens. We don't have that. Our kids, last year, a lot of kids, they lost because the transportation, they drop in different places. The parents was like afraid, what is my kids? The school, they don't even answer the phone. So because they don't have enough workers, enough teachers. So it's a lot is going on. And the water, like I mentioned before, the parents say, I don't have enough money for my rent, for my food. And now I have to spend money for water, for sending my kids a bottle of water. Why I have to spend money from my pocket? Well, the private schools, they have a lot. So they even they cook every day. For the private schools, they have their own kitchen. They have the workers in the kitchen. They make the food. They give it fresh. By the end of the day, they throw it away. Our kids, they give in a frozen food, expired food. One of the parents is a taxi driver. He's picking the kids after they eating lunch because they eating the lunch frozen food or expired, so they feel a tummy ache. They take them to the hospital, but the parents, they are afraid to talk because they feel like it's going to be a consequence. So they say, oh, I'm an immigrant. I don't want to have any consequence. I don't want my kids paying the consequence on me. So that's why we united right now, and it keep going. Even we know part of the East Ramapo, we're gonna fight for the kids' rights, because we know if you kids have this, we have just the same. My kids, I want to go to school and have a good, better future too.
Hell yeah, Berta. Yes. Carole, did you want to add anything around the disparity between the private?
Berta made a very good point, and you also mentioned about the funding. According to the law, we're supposed to, the funding, the private schools are supposed to receive money. They're supposed to receive money for textbooks, I believe, and they also are supposed to receive money for, they're supposed to also get transportation. And in other districts throughout the state of New York, there's a very small amount of money that the private schools get for transportation. I mean, we have to supply transportation for. But in East Ramapo has over 30,000 plus private school students, and there are only something like 9,000 public school students. Therefore, the private schools, transportation is really killing East Ramapo, okay? Because of all the money that has to go because of universal busing. That's another issue. Universal busing means that if you live across the street from a school or around the corner from the school that you go to, you are entitled to busing. So you can imagine that this is taking a tremendous amount of money out of the budget. And because of the fact that all of this money is going towards transportation, it leaves a hole as far as the public schools receiving the necessary services that they should get because of the fact that the law states that private schools are supposed to get this no matter what happens as far as the public school. So this really is a problem. And unfortunately, I don't know how we can fix universal busing because I doubt very seriously this was voted on by the community over 10 years ago. And at this point, everybody in the public school community realizes that this is a problem. But the private school community has, at this point, has more votes. So you can imagine we cannot overturn universal busing.
Thanks for sharing that, Carole.
So this is a problem.
Mm-hmm. If I can add, Carole's definitely right. She touched on the universal busing. So on average in New York State, I believe this is 2022, they found this, the average amount of budget being allocated for transportation is, the New York State average is 5%. In East Ramapo Central School District, our average is 24%. That is how much of a difference we are spending on transportation compared to other places. It is obnoxious, and again touches on that financial mismanagement, because any other district would look at that and say, hey, we're spending a lot more above the average. Let's take a look at that. Our district doesn't. And it is because private school shares that transportation allocation. So to kind of give you the real life aspect of it, right? Like our perspective, the transportation they give to private schools and public schools are different. It really, really, truly resembles that era of segregation, separate but equal, but we're not actually equal. And for private schools, they get luxury transportation. Every child has a seat. They get central air conditioning on the buses. And the students that take that transportation, they get dropped off at their house, right in front of their door, so the kids can get off and go home, right? That's fine. But the problem is it's not the same for public school transportation, where these buses are overcrowded. There are kids who have to stand up on the bus because there are not enough seats. There's no air conditioning, and it ties back to the fact that there's no water. So these kids at the end of the day are dehydrated, sweaty on an overcrowded bus. They feel faint, and a lot of times they're dropped off a block or two away from their house, so they have to walk home too. And our transportation is really bad in a sense that they are also losing kids. There have been so many times where kids are dropped off at the wrong stop and are just told to get off. And the parents, when they don't see their kid at home, call either the district, the transportation company, nobody answers. And we have actually, as a community, had to create group chats of parents so that if a parent's kid goes missing, they can send it in our group chats and say, hey, I'm missing my 7-year-old daughter. Can somebody please let me know if they see her? Because the school won't act on this. So we as a community have had to resolve these issues. And again, it just really goes to show the difference of this this transportation budget. And Carole said, we've brought this up at school board meetings. Our white school board members have verbatim said that they will never consider a budget where they reduce the amount used on transportation. That is what they have said. Meanwhile, our teachers don't have good contracts where class sizes are getting bigger. Why not look at this problem with transportation? The money is there. We need to put it where it needs to be put.
And Keyry, this mismanagement, this neglect, this has been happening since you were a student, but you've graduated like 5-6 years
6 years ago.
right? But maybe you have family, like kids still in your family who are in the public school system, and we're still seeing this, right? It's intergenerational at this point.
Exactly. It's quite literally affecting the next generation of my family, because I do have cousins in their elementary years who are still in the public schools, and they're facing the exact same issues I did when I was in school. Primarily the lead. I mean, I found out while I was in school that the water I had been drinking was poison. And to hear that my family is the same. And, you know, to kind of give a shout out to Ana Maeda, who is another community activist. She told me this heartbreaking story, and she shared it with the Washington Post, who also covered us. Ana Maeda is part of the alumni marching band. East Ramapo is proud of our marching band. That is one thing you will hear us say. And they had to go to an event outside of the district. Young kids are also in attendance to these things, right? Ana Maeda went into the school building, I believe, to use the bathroom or something. And these public school students went in with her and they saw a water fountain. And they were like, what is that? These kids didn't know what, like, how to even use it. They were asking her, how do you use this? This gives water? Because our water fountains were shut off and they have caution tape on them. And, you know, she was trying to explain to them, yeah, this is a water fountain. I mean, how bizarre is that? You know what I mean? Like, this shouldn't have to be happening. And the kids were scared to break it. And just to hear these things affecting the next generation is so bizarre and inhumane, quite frankly. And that's just, you know, the continuing disparities of it, where kids don't even know what a water fountain looks like. I mean, how ridiculous is that? Mm-hmm.
Very ridiculous. So just want to, you know, all these issues that you're mentioning describes the disparity in resource allocation, and this underscores the larger problem, the failure to adequately fund a public education system. East Ramapo, this is a dramatic, real-life, real-time example that shows how chronic underfunding leads to gaps that can lead to privatization, which is absolutely happening at East Ramapo. And it's privatization is compromising one of our last remaining public goods, which is our public education system. And our public education system is meant for all students, regardless of race, income, or immigration status. And we're seeing how systemically people from the community are being separated from decision making, and how these decisions are not in the best interest of the people who they're meant to serve. I wanted to ask, just sort of segueing into what can be done, I wanted to ask you all, and we'll start with you, Carole, just sort of, you know, you've been in this fight for a long time. What are your hopes for the future of East Ramapo's education system? And what roles do you see community can play, both in East Ramapo, but also the broader community, you know, members and groups like us throughout the state? What are your hopes for the future?
Listen, you mentioned a very good piece. I'm hoping that East Ramapo, say when I moved up here, I moved up in 1997. And in 1997, East Ramapo was one of the top, well, I think it was the top school district in the state of New York. And here it is. This is 2024. And it has gone from the top school district down to the bottom. Now, that should be a clue right there that something is definitely wrong. I'm hoping that we can make our state legislators aware that East Ramapo needs help because of Terry and Berta and the rest of the activists. We have now gotten the state education department on board. They see it, that there's a problem, and they are trying to. The commissioner especially is trying to help, and she did this by directing the school board to pass the budget that it should have passed, which the former superintendent asked for a 5 point. I'm not certain exactly the figure that he asked to for the taxes to be raised this year. And of course, as usual, the budget was failed. It was a failed budget. And then they turned around and they put up another budget for only 1%. Now, what could 1%, what kind of money do you get from a 1% budget that would be able to fix the problems? We need bilingual teachers. We definitely need bilingual teachers. We need constant maintenance of the building, which is lacking. And 1% was a total insult. So thankfully, she saw this because of Anna Maida and others. She turned around and directed the school board to pass a 5% budget. And of course, they did, and she told them if they didn't, anybody who voted against that would be removed. So, of course, all the school board members voted for the 5% budget. But this is not going to end because we know it's going to be challenged in court. So we're hoping that our legislators will see the need, along with SEC, to help East Ramapo, because our children deserve a quality education. And I'm sorry, we need to provide that for them. And stop this nonsense about these are immigrants. It bothers me. My grandparents were immigrants, and I think practically everyone that's on this call were probably children of immigrants. So how dare them? We need help.
Everyone was an immigrant in this country at
Thank
some
you.
point. Every single person. Thanks,
right.
Carol. Berta,
right.
Berta, what are the hopes? What are your hopes for the future of East Ramapo School District?
Well, my hopes is I'm going to focus more on community because Carol already mentioned all the stuff, and to be more about the community and organizations, because I know it's many organizations in Rockland, and I'm asking for their help. We donate our time. Nobody get paid. Keyry not get paid for her time. I don't get paid for my time, and we're there. We're not just doing, look at me. We're doing because we care about the education of for the kids. So we asking about different organizations for help. We asking for, my hope is that more organizations come together, more parents be more involved, more kids involved, because like Keyry, she was one of the students and she's involved right now. So we need more high school kids and even small kids that get involved, because they are part of the because there's not enough translation, so the kids translate for the parents. So it's involved, the kids involved for the, in that situation too. So my hope is better, being better for East Ramapo, but that is part of like I don't want to say it's our fault, because it's not our fault, but it's, we have to create more community together, because the thing is we separate. So one group is here and the other group is here. So we're not going to win like that. We're going to be fight together. It's how we're going to win, because I know we have the power, but we don't use it. So we're not together. So if we're together, we're going to use the power, because we know we have the power. So my hope is be more community involved, white people, immigrants, like you say, everybody's immigrant. So we want everybody involved for this, and we know this problem is going to different places. It's not only East Ramapo. So I hope it's one day we're gonna talk and say, "Wow, we did it! We did it! Now the kids have the same education of the other white kids."
Thank you, Berta. And Keyry, what are your hopes for the future of East Ramapo's education system? And Tamara, who's a parent from Brooklyn, New York, she commented, also, what are ways that other folks can help in any way? So if there are any actions or any petitions you guys have going on, let us know. But also, Keyry, what are your hopes? What are your hopes for the future?
I have a lot of hopes, right? I mean, I can list them off all day, but I think both Carol and Berta are right. We just need everyone to get involved, regardless of where you're from, regardless of your color, regardless of your status as a politician or just my neighbor. And I, I know there's been a lot of talk about organization this, organization that, but we don't really need any of that. If you're willing to help us with some small act or huge act, help us. Just our doors are open to anyone and everyone always. When we have any event, whether it's Lobby Day in Albany or meeting with a chancellor or meeting with a politician, we open the doors to everyone who is willing to listen and get involved. And, you know, just stay informed. That's really all I can really ask of everyone. You know, when we went to Lobby Day, all we did was open the doors to the bus and said, if you want to come in, hop right in. And we had just people from the community come with their kids. Somebody brought their baby. And when we went to talk to politicians, she said, don't you want to help my baby get a better education? So it was really hard for politicians to say no to that. But you know what I mean? It's these little voices that make all the difference. And we just need everyone to help us get the word out there and make this change. I mean, New York State of Education, like Carol mentioned, I mean, Betty Rosa herself heard this outcry from us and demanded that change. And that was a landmark decision that hasn't been made in over 100 years. Mm-hmm. It wasn't an easy decision to make, I'm sure, but she made it because she saw the needs of the parents who would consistently come out, make their voices and concerns known. And we need more of that. So whether it's just you want to share the flyer for one of our events with your followers or whatever have you, or you want to actually join us in meeting legislators, going to Albany, you know, no act is too small, no act is too big, but we need that unity among each other. And if you're able to vote, please, please, please vote yes on the budget. I know there's this idea of hopelessness surrounding it since we lose every year. Even regardless of if we lose or win, that one vote adds to the statistics and shows the demand that there is a desire out there for an increased budget. So every vote matters, especially in East Ramapo. So I just ask for everyone to hopefully want to get involved. And again, just the doors are open. I know I post any events around advocacy for ERCSD or just community events in general. Berta's active on Facebook. Carol is just out there on the streets yelling, come to these board meetings, come to these events. Carol gets her voice out there. So just open your ears and listen if you're willing and able.
Thanks, Keyry.
Okay. I want to say something quickly before we end. I want to send out to you 3 videos. For the past 3 years, we have been doing the Regent Judith Johnson's Heroes. And these are videos to highlight women who have contributed, women from this community who have contributed to the community to make it a better community. And it's a racially diverse women that we highlight. And for the 2025 series, Keyry is going to be one of the women that we honor. So I'm going to send out to you guys 3 videos from this year so you can get a taste of what we're trying to do. We are highlighting the women of this community and the talented students that we have in East Ramapo. So thank you.
Please share that our way, Carol. We'd love to share it out. Are there any petitions or anything that folks can sign on to if they want to take out?
We also have, by courtesy of NICLU, a letter prompt that they created on their website. And I sent you the link, but let me know if you need me to put it in the chat. But I'll put it in the chat. So basically what it is a letter prompt, and then the default is sent to a number of legislators, and I believe Commissioner Rose is on there as well as Governor Kathy Hochul. And it's basically just asking them to look at the problems happening in East Ramapo. And all you would have to do is put in your first name, I believe your email address, and NICLU will basically send their letter prompt out to these legislators and politicians. So even just an act like that really helps get the word out there, and it shows that there are people who are listening and people who want change. And if you want to continue to get involved in our events, the only person here that's on Instagram is me. So you could always look at my page for any events that I share alongside with that letter prompt.
Yes. Thank you for creating Instagrams to join this conversation. Thank you. Okay, well, I just want to thank you all, Carole, Berta, Keyry. Thank you for signing on. Thank you for sharing the struggle that you guys are going through. You know, this is the Alliance for Quality Education. We stand with you. This is what we do. You know, we support parents and community members fighting for education justice across the state, fighting against injustice like we're seeing in real time in East Ramapo. So for those of you watching, for those of you hearing about this story just now, you know, we're going to keep monitoring it. This is an ongoing struggle, as you've heard. It's ongoing. It's intergenerational. And, you know, we're going to support you guys however way we can, and really applaud the work that you're doing, each and every one of you. Keyry dropped the link in the chat for those of you who want to sign on really quick. I think we could probably send a follow-up email. And Carole, yeah, if you can send over those videos, we'd love to share them as well.
Who can I send them to?
Send them in the thread, Carole, the email thread that we're all on. You know, I'll reach out to you. And we'll figure it out.
Okay.
But thank you, ladies, so much. Thank you for sharing.
Okay.
Thank you. Seriously,
Thank you.
We appreciate you letting us borrow your platform to really highlight the needs of the community. And, you know, these public school students, they deserve more, truly. And so thank you for aligning with us, seriously.
Tamara asked what Keyry's handle is. Tamara, if you click Keyry's name, you should be able to go to it, right?
Yeah, I'll also just type it out in case. It is just my first name and last initial. Nice and easy.
There you go.
Thank you, Tamara.
All right. Thank you all. Keep in touch.
Yeah,
Thank
take
you,
care.
everyone. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.